Today is a really good day. You want to know why? What were those things or moments that you look back on your childhood that you really, really loved? For me, one of them was getting to go to the DQ. Hot summer nights, we'd convince my mom, we'd go uptown. I was young enough that I didn't know everything on the menu, but for some reason I was always all about the cherry Mr. Misty. Cold, sweet, delicious. But this really got me thinking a lot lately about the good old days. And it all really started with a conversation that I recently had with our daughter Bella, who's on the brink of turning 22. She's on the brink of graduating college, and she lives in LA. So she was just home for the weekend, and we're driving in the car. Okay, well, maybe it looked a little bit more like this. But we were talking, and she said, man, I really miss being in San Diego. Things were so much easier then. She said, I really only had to do 3 things: work, bike, and work out. Life was just so good and easy. And I was like, what? Okay, we gotta talk for a second about the good old days or nostalgia. Now, I'm not talking about the nostalgia of like all of the favorite TV shows that you totally had to be home for to watch, or that you'd stay up for on Friday nights, or the toys that were always on the Christmas list that were the must-haves, or just hanging out with friends when you felt like you really didn't have a care in the world. I'm talking about the nostalgia that pops up when we're going through periods of transition or change, or just when things feel really uncertain or uncomfortable. So you've heard me say this before, that change triggers the stress response. And so what research has shown is that nostalgia can be this stabilizing force in our lives. So it kind of like reminds us of who we are and where we've been. It unites like a comfortable past with an uncertain future. That nostalgia is just very comforting when we're feeling really uncomfortable. But one of the problems with the good old days or nostalgia is that we're super selective about how and what we remember. So I turned to her and I said, okay, I'm sorry, you were kind of a nightmare. You hated your job. You would come home from work and just talk about how horribly stressful the whole day was. Rude customers who totally made you cry. You were always feeling like you were falling behind in your life because of COVID. Like, what's happening with school? Things aren't going according to plan. You felt like you were failing at life because you had to move back home during the pandemic. It was super hard for you to meet people, so you were feeling kind of lonely. You were super stressed out and anxious all of the time. So it can be really easy to get caught up in the stress of our current day-to-day lives, especially when we're going through a lot of change. But there is going to be a time in the future when you look back at things right now and think, oh, those were the good old days. Which means these are the good old days right now. Even though we have stress, even though bad things are happening. So why not experience right now as the good old days What is going on in your life right now that you're gonna be nostalgic about later on? Enjoy it. Oh man, totally forgot about the brain freeze and how quickly you're just left with a glass of white ice. Nostalgia is not necessarily all that.